Peace and welcome to Narrative, where we bring you real talk with real people. I'm your host, Dennis Calvero, along with my co-host, Keith Tran. For weekly updates and exclusive content, follow us on Instagram at narrative.today. You can also go on our website, www.narrative.today. Let's start the conversation. This is Narrative. What's up, y'all? Welcome to Narrative, episode 3. It's your host, Dennis Calvero, along with my co-host, Keith Tran. What up, Keith?
What's going on, guys?
We want to thank everyone for listening in to the last couple episodes, especially the last one with Emil Soriano Jr. And we also finished the live IG recording with him as well as a follow-up from the initial recording we did. So thank you.
Yeah, and we're doing this episode remotely from each of our houses, but we did go to our studio and we were able to bring some of this recording equipment, the mics, and all of that back to our houses, so that hopefully the sound quality is better than the first episode where we sounded like we were in a tin can. But but yeah, thanks for rocking with us, guys. And like Dennis mentioned, the episode with the meal, we actually got a ton of feedback on it. So really appreciate you guys listening. And then the IG live conversation that happened yesterday had a ton of engagement. It seems like we had a lot of the old school kind of crooks guys that you used to work with.
Yeah.
Part of the mix.
Some old school Cerritos heads as well, and just some old friends from around the way. And we had, I think, a few people out in New York and maybe other parts of the world as well. So, oh yeah, down in the Philippines. Thank y'all tuning in.
Yeah, so hopefully that will kind of be our rhythm for the next few weeks, where we have some of our previously recorded interviews, and then we'll do some follow-ups with some of those guys, just to kind of see where they're at currently and how the pandemic is affecting their business or what they're doing kind of day to day.
I saw Nas's post today, and he labeled it the plandemic. Like it was part of the plan for you conspiracy theorists out there.
Yeah, it's wild. So yeah. What are you up to these days, D?
Still locked down, still trying to, maintain my sanity. Definitely miss interacting with people, seeing friends, seeing colleagues, even family, especially. But for the most part, things have been fairly well. Trying to cook as much at home as usual, watching a ton of movies.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty cool. I mean we're doing this recording right now over Zoom.
Yeah,
and I know that over the last few weeks, myself and pretty much everyone I know has been doing a lot of virtual hangouts over Zoom, over Google Hangouts.
Yeah.
So it's I think all of us as people, we still need each other, to lean on. So taking advantage of all the technology that we have.
Yeah, Zoom had to beef up their back end because of all the use that was happening on there. And also, I know for those that, play the stock markets, their Zoom stocks shot up a little bit, right?
It shot up a lot, actually. I haven't checked it recently, but I think it's more than doubled since the beginning of the year. But of course, with the popularity of Zoom coming up, the recent thing I read was that they had to increase their security because a bunch of people were kind of hacking into other accounts.
Yeah.
A lot of schools, the teachers are using it to teach the kids, and people are obviously holding conference meetings, and people are hacking in and trolling them.
Yeah, I think my daughter's school is not using Zoom anymore. And I had to create another account on Zoom for just personal reasons and seeing friends and stuff. But it did have a question. It's like, are you a school or your teacher or something like that prior to creating an account?
Yeah. So another security feature I saw that is that now you're able to pick out specifically which region of the world you want your server to work from. So right. I guess that helps protect you uh, with different having options for not using servers overseas if that's what you choose to do.
I mean, you think people that hack in, they're able to actually see the people on different chats and groups?
Well, yeah, it's not really hacking because up until I think with this last security upgrade, all you needed to have was the meeting ID,
Right.
and then people could guess at the password or whatever. So
Yeah.
you can just log in. So it was pretty open format. But now I think the security's in updated so where you can only get into the meeting if you have a direct link or if you have um, the password.
Are
But
there any other type of social media, um, platforms that you use to connect with friends or play games?
man, I use them all. Zoom is probably by far the most popular one, but the FaceTime one, we try to do that.
I mean,
We try to,
Zoom has the capacity to hold more people, right? I think you're up
yeah.
to the
I
capacity.
mean, I think the number is pretty high, but it doesn't lag. It feels like you're talking in real time.
Right.
Um, even now when we're talking to each other, it's like I'm looking right at you and we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
The FaceTime one doesn't feel as like fluid. Feels a little glitchy sometimes.
Mhm.
I know IG, you can do one on there too.
Right. I mean, the IG live ones is definitely the one of the more popular entertainment things that people are using. I know, Timbaland and Swizz launched that. I think they labeled it Versus,
Yeah, I mean that's been crazy.
and
The
there was a bit of a foobar on yesterday's episode. It was, Babyface versus Teddy Riley, and I believe Teddy Riley had his on mute the whole time.
oh, we're
Yeah, so there all these memes came out about, Teddy Riley being on mute the whole time during their Versus battle.
oh man, yeah. I thought the Scotch Storch Manny Fresh one, that one's really good.
Yeah.
Uh, but of course the DJ Premier and RZA one, I think that
Oh,
was the craziest one.
who do you think won that one?
I think more people are probably going to be more. They're going to be more familiar with Primo's work. So,
Right.
and then that includes me. So I'm gonna have to give it to DJ Premier.
But the Wu-Tang is a huge global phenomenon. I mean, especially back then. So, like, you can say Wu-Tang, and even back to the Dave Chappelle joke, it's like it's something that's more identifiable. I mean, maybe even like older people would know Wu-Tang is before DJ Premier.
Yeah, I mean that's an argument I think you can take with a few of the other ones too. So like the Manny Fresh Scotch Storch one. So Scotch Storch, he definitely had a lot more hits that
Right.
are known all over. But Manny Fresh brought a whole sound of New Orleans to the forefront.
Yeah.
And
He brought
it's
sound.
yeah, and you can say the same thing about the RZA, right? So
Right.
RZA made Staten Island
Yeah.
like a contender in the hip hop world during that period. But then if you look past his hip hop work, or he's done like crazy scores.
Yeah.
The biggest one probably being Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Like
He
to me, the
collaborated.
Kill Bill, yeah, the Kill Bill, the two movies, the score and the music and the soundtrack to that really makes it.
Right. Going back to the pandemic, it seems like there is a lot of civil unrest going on and people wanting to get back to their normal lives.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just goes back to there's a lot of like bipartisanship still,
Yeah.
and there's some people that are making the whole pandemic very political,
Right.
uh, in which it shouldn't be because the virus doesn't care if you're a Democrat or Republican. So
Yeah.
it's tough for me to see that some people are still trying to politicize this whole thing, and we're not working towards diplomacy.
Right.
Yeah, it's like those people are just looking for discourse. They're just looking to disagree with any ideas from a person that they don't necessarily support. So it's not necessarily the idea they might disagree with, but it's the person.
But it can also stem from the pressure of them needing to make money and have their living. Like if they're going to pay rent, I don't think I'm not even sure if like a lot of landlords are like, you know what, we're gonna give you free rent until this is over. That ain't happening, right? So
Yeah, I
if
mean,
you're someone that's living check to check and are dependent on that money, even with the government stimulus of the $1,200, like that isn't even gonna last you like 2 weeks.
yeah, it's definitely a tough situation. So I mean, it's definitely hard to try to even point the finger at anyone because, like you said, if you're a tenant, you can't pay the rent because you're not working.
Right.
What are you supposed to do? But then that landlord at the same time, they have a mortgage that they have to, to pay on their building.
Too, yeah.
And
So it's
so
like the
it's
bank's gonna give them some leeway.
well, they're supposed to,
Right.
but every situation I think it's a little different. I have read about some tenants allowing their I'm sorry, I have read about some landlords allowing their tenants to defer their rent.
Yeah. Like
So,
half or
they
yeah.
put themselves in this position to be able to do that.
Yeah. It's definitely we're all put in a tough situation and, for this being our first time in our lifetime experiencing this, it's still a lot that's unknown. I mean, I talked in an email yesterday. It's like that was the one thing we kept bringing up is that there's so much that's still unknown about that. Even if they allowed everyone next week to go back to their normal lives, like what does that make it worse? It's just like do we start? Obviously, we're going to have to be more careful of how we conduct ourselves in public. Um, that's a given, but like what are we supposed to look forward to in battling this thing is like when the flus were getting really bad and they came up with the flu shots and stuff like the vaccine for the coronavirus is like are we going to be the guinea pigs for this or
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the one thing I think about is the comparison they always make to the 1918 Spanish flu,
yeah.
and they keep on talking about this double hump, which means that the second wave of it, once it hit, because people thought it was over, was actually harder than the first wave. They mentioned San Francisco thought that it was kind of dying out, so then they allowed people to start leaving their houses, and then the second wave came and hit harder.
Mhm.
So I think that's something we can look to as an example of not getting back to normal life too quickly. I
Right.
know in Texas, where I'm from, they were already saying that by like next week they were going to start opening up some additional essential businesses. I think
Right.
I read it was like you could be retail, but you would still have to offer some type of curbside pickup.
Yeah.
So those type of ideas, but and we're in California, and you look at the work that they've done here. I do feel that being in California, we have made a big difference in flattening the curve, and for being such a big populous state, the
Yeah.
numbers per capita uh, are pretty low
Yeah,
compared
they're
to some of the
significantly
other states.
lower. Yeah.
Yeah,
And I think it comes to the governor being a bit more aggressive on doing these shutdown mandates. So
yeah,
big
for
up to
sure.
him. Hopefully we good and us Californians can get back to hitting the beaches and whatnot.
Oh man! So what's the first thing you're gonna do as soon as they say everything's good and everything opens back up?
Probably eat at a restaurant. I'm
Just
gonna
in
wanna do that.
any restaurant.
Any restaurant, walk a mall, walk around a mall, and then, hopefully by that time the weather's warm enough. I mean, I think this weekend we're looking at, or the next weekend we're looking at, like, temperatures in the 80s, mid-80s, maybe close to 90s, so the beaches are gonna be nice.
Yeah.
I know some beaches in Orange County aren't shut down, like Newport Beach, is open. I think they closed the parking lots to kinda limit the amount of people that can go, but the beaches are still open. I know some people that went and checked it out, a couple days ago.
Okay.
What are you gonna
And
do?
man. I'm not even sure yet.
Watch a movie?
Maybe
If so,
you
something worth watching?
yeah, just I'm not looking to have like a big bang type event happen whenever we
Right,
get back to it. I just want to easily, like ease into just having a normal life again. But definitely going to the movies is used to be a big part of my routine.
yeah,
Um, Something I read recently was that AMC, because they were already struggling, the whole movie business in itself was already kind of struggling before all this happened.
right,
And so they're creating new ways to get people out to the theater by introducing different size screens, the IMAX, the 3D stuff, introducing new items at the counter, so you can buy alcohol, you can buy more than just a hot dog, you can get like a hamburger, a pizza, things like that. So they kept on trying to introduce these things, but
right,
it wasn't really sticking. So
yeah,
I heard AMC may be one of those companies that may not see it out of this, which is crazy.
right. They're either they're gonna be gone or the government's gonna really have to bail them out somehow.
Yeah, but it's I can't see a big bailout happening because that don't they don't seem that essential as when you compare it to the airline industry
Yeah,
or other parts of the entertainment industry.
right.
Um, the crazy thing that I think about is AMC theaters are huge spaces at malls, at shopping plazas.
So it's the
So
even, huh?
yeah, so but what are they gonna do with those spaces?
Yeah,
What can you transform them into, if they're no longer there? So, I would think it'd be in the best interest of, those landlords that own, or those big companies that own the malls, to
mhm.
really get the back of AMC. Plus,
Yeah,
they're the type of tenant that brings people.
yeah, they're a big
uh
draw to the
Yeah,
mall.
they're a big draw,
Yeah.
so
Yeah, hopefully they stay around. I love movies. I know you do.
yeah. I mean, one of the biggest feedback I got from the first conversation we did was everyone was like, "Yeah, I didn't know you guys knew so much about movies." But the funny thing is when you and I first met, I
Yeah,
think that was one of our first times we connected. It was like we realized that both of us were
big movie.
super huge, yeah, super huge fans of movies. Like beyond just knowing the movie, it's like we look at the directors, the actors, the soundtrack.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, I have this thing where as soon as finish watching a movie, the first thing I'm doing is going to like the Wikipedia page.
yeah, or IMDb.
Yeah, like I want to know, who the director is, or if I don't have that information, what else they've made.
Yeah,
Who the stars are if I'm not familiar with the actor. All that stuff.
I did watch I remember you mentioning you watched Little Women, and,
Yeah.
I was trying to look for a movie that, my daughter could possibly get into other than me trying to, like, kill her with all the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit series. So we ended up watching Little Women, and,
How'd you what did
yeah,
you think?
I thought it was done really well. Good
Yeah.
cast, I'm a new fan to that, supporting actress, Florence Pugh, I think is her name.
Mhm.
Um, I think she played Beth or one of the other girls. And then the main girl is I'm gonna slaughter her name, Soiree or Soirees. Did you figure out the correct pronunciation of
No, I honestly, I don't know how to say the name either. I think it's pronounced Cersei, but
Cersei?
yeah, if someone's listening to this and we're tearing the name apart, let us know.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, she's had a big couple of years.
Yeah.
I think the first time I recognized her in a movie was The Grand Budapest, which is a
Yeah.
Wes Anderson movie.
And
But then also the director for Little Women, Greta Gerwig, she's had a huge couple of years.
right.
Um, and then last year, of course, Little Women was nominated, and then her partner is Noah Baumbach, so he had a big year too. So that to me is like the current new kind of power couple in Hollywood, Greta
Oh,
and
they're
Noah.
together. Okay.
Yeah, so Noah Baumbach, he did Love Story.
Okay. And that's the one on Netflix that was nominated with,
Yep.
Scarlett and, um, the Kenobi guy,
Uh,
Ben Kenobi.
uh,
Adam Driver.
Yeah, Adam Driver. Yep.
Uh,
He was really good in HBO series Girls. If you ever watched that.
yeah, yeah, I watched that. That was, yeah, he was good on that.
Speaking of Wes Anderson, what's your favorite Wes Anderson movie?
I'm a big Royal Tenenbaum guy. You know, I like the cast on there. I loved Ben Stiller's role in his Two Boys. And then I loved the tennis angle of one of the other brothers on there. Was it one of the Wilson brothers, right?
Owen
Owen.
Wilson.
Owen, yeah.
Oh no, it wasn't Owen. It was the other one, Luke Wilson.
Yeah, yeah. But they were both in the movie, right?
Yeah.
Because
Well,
I think Owen was the one that played the friend that was trying to get with the sister.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And then Owen Wilson was also in Bottle Rockets.
right. Which what's your favorite Wes Anderson film?
Oh, and kind of I dig them all. I think the Grand Budapest I mentioned is probably one of the top ones. I mean, I think all of his movies they all have really good imagery. The aesthetic, he has like a very specific aesthetic,
Yeah.
and the dialogue. His dialogue is always really punchy and quirky,
Uh,
and they're always all of his movies have really cool characters, and they build on the characters.
what's the Bill Murray one where they're like the water, the job?
Life Aquatic.
Yo, that one too. I like, especially the Filipino pirates.
Yeah, Life Aquatic used to be my favorite until I saw the Grand Budapest. But I also really like Isle of Dog, the
Yeah,
stop motion one he
yeah,
did.
yeah. Ala Dog is dope. Ala Dog is dope. Had a crazy story about like the dog dystopian world and the relationships with man, right?
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
let's keep this going. What's your favorite Pixar movie?
Um, ooh, Pixar is like they have they have hits every year. I have to say The Incredibles because of the mid-century aesthetic to the films and the, you know, the way they set their backdrop. Even the type of animation just has like that cool, you know, mid-century modern type feel.
Yeah, that's definitely your way. That's how you have your house decorated, right?
Yeah. Like my
Uh,
brother was a docent for the Eames Foundation House in the Palisades, so put me on to a lot of the early greats of the 1950s. How about yourself?
um, I'm gonna say my favorite Pixar movie. Well, before I answer, I think Pixar hands down is the greatest movie studio of all time.
Yeah,
If you look at their output,
yeah,
and like for me, there's no bad Pixar movie,
right.
you know. And even though they're animation, it's like kids can get into it, but then adults, there's adult ideas in there, but it's done in a way that kids can still enjoy it and not be over their heads.
Yeah,
Um,
and
but
Pixar
my
has an amazing story as of how they came about and the relationship with Steve Jobs.
Yep.
I think Steve actually is one of the founders, I would say, of Pixar, or something probably he created as a side
Yeah,
project.
there was an early tie-in, I think, with Pixar and Apple,
Yeah,
and that's how Steve Jobs was a part of it.
and then it
Um,
ended up going into Disney.
yeah, my favorite Pixar movie, I would tell you, it's Ratatouille, and the reason why I really like that movie is because when it first came out, I think I saw like the movie poster, the trailer, or something, and I
Yeah,
was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna watch that. That doesn't appeal to me." But then I finally caught it. I think when it came to DVD and I saw it, and I was like, "Wow, this movie is amazing!" Because you know,
yeah,
it has this whole storyline about a mouse who's a chef, which is like
yeah,
a funny storyline. But then it talks about food, and I think we all love food type things.
yeah,
But then that proves my point that I made earlier, which is Pixar doesn't put out a bad movie. So that really hit it home for me. Like, man, I'm never gonna not watch a Pixar movie
yeah,
ever again. And I actually read the book, the Creativity Inc.
yeah.
a few years ago, and it talks about the whole Pixar process where they make movies by committee.
Mhm.
So it's pretty interesting because Peter Lasseter, who's kind of the head of Pixar, I
Yeah.
think he stepped down recently, but there's a point where every single person who works at Pixar from a direction or a production role, they'll have weekly or monthly meetings where everyone talks about what they're currently working on. Regardless if it's an idea or the movie's halfway made, or you
Yeah.
know, no matter what the arc of the movie is or if the process of the arc. But everyone pitches their ideas, and then everyone in the room will make a comment or add notes to it. And eventually, if someone just has an idea but they really can't bring it to life, they'll take that project and hand it to someone else to finish it.
Interesting. Yeah, that's pretty dope. Yeah, I think whenever the Academy Awards are on, the Oscars, there's always a Pixar nomination in the animated
Yeah,
category, and they seem to be the the house that takes it home every year.
yeah. There's like I think of a good example of what I was saying is Inside Out. So
Yeah,
the movie about the emotions in your head.
right.
I think initially the story started out as they were trying to talk about feelings so that kids can understand. It's okay to feel a certain way sometimes. But they couldn't kind of get the idea off the ground until eventually they developed into a movie where each of the feelings were a character or the emotions were a character.
Character, right.
Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's always
that was a real clever one. Like
yeah. I mean,
I
I think they're always clever,
yeah,
and it's like if you're into movies like us, we always kind of see like the joke about it, like
yeah.
how clever this movie is. But then you show it to like a 5-year-old kid, and they're just like, I love that movie. So so it's like it's for everyone.
One of the big news is that in movies, it was the Vanity Fair image release of the new upcoming rendition of Dune, starring Timothy Chalamet and everyone you could think of that's been in the last Star Wars and Marvel films, from Josh Brolin to Jason Momoa to Oscar Isaacs, Zendaya. The cast is enormous, and you know, Denis Villeneuve is definitely at the helm. And he's only agreed to take it on for if they're able to do it in 2 films. So there's gonna have a part 1 and a 2. Um, but yeah, cast is huge. If you're not familiar with Dune, the book is pretty much what inspired um, Star Wars, Alien, you know,
It's like
the
the
whole science fiction
yeah,
and
I was gonna say the like
sci-fi
the pinnacle
fantasy. Yeah, it's
pinnacle of
like
sci-fi. Yeah.
yeah, and it's the Frank Herbert book Dune, scheduled to drop December. So hopefully we're out of this quarantine and AMC and all the other theaters are still up.
Yeah, fingers crossed. But that sounds like a crazy cast.
Yeah, it's huge, and the images are really well. I mean, um, it's Denny or Dennis Villeneuve. He did the latest Blade Runner 2049 or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, you know, very vivid, good cinematography. I don't think the movie did as well as they thought it was going to do, but I thought he did a really good job, and I'm a big fan of the first Sicario film.
Are you big into dystopian sci-fi movies?
Yeah, I think that the nerdy conspiracy guy kind of comes out in me, and you know, being 3 years old when Star Wars first came out, standing in line with my parents, and watching that on the big screen definitely has an impact on my life. And sci-fi fantasy and the futuristic dystopian films are my go-to.
Yeah. I mean, I think I really like you're talking about dystopian films. I like uh Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah,
That's a crazy one
that's
with
good. With
Tom
Nicolas
Hardy.
Cage, Tom Hardy, yeah. They're
One from a
supposed to
few.
have a follow-up to that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the whole idea was it was supposed to have another one,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I haven't seen anything on it yet. Um, I really like Children of Men.
Mm.
It's a
Yeah,
good one.
yeah, the Clive Owen one where
Yeah,
the
Alfonso
humanity
Cuarón.
yeah, humanity can no longer have children. That's what the basis of the movie's about?
Yeah, well, it's yeah, only certain number of people can still have kids, and then those women are like they become like a very valuable.
Yeah,
Uh,
sacred.
yeah, they become sacred. Yeah,
Yeah, and then, um and then obviously our favorite, one of our favorite directors and creators, Christopher Nolan.
yeah. Tenet. I remember seeing the trailer for that
Yeah,
probably a few weeks before the whole pandemic started. So hopefully that they're still on a release schedule.
yeah,
But yeah, Christopher Nolan is always amazing because he has a very specific eye as well.
yep,
But I think what blows me away with Christopher Nolan movies are always the score, like the sound
yeah.
of the movie. So that's to me is you have to watch that in a big theater environment.
Yeah, I even think with Dunkirk, like, he did something with the sound that messes with time, and it's like is it like a stopwatch, or like you hear it,
Hmm.
like the ticking and the clicks, and it
Yep.
kinda
And
engages you in a different way to a film.
I mean, it adds a level of like kind of anxiety,
Yeah,
it's like a whole pacing
right.
type thing.
And the writing of the stories are just phenomenal. I mean, from Inception, Interstellar, and even The Prestige, the whole magician thing. Um, that thing blew me away, and I didn't even know much about Christopher Nolan after watching that, and I had to dig and do my homework, and I saw that his early film was Memento.
Yep. Yeah. I always like that Christopher Nolan uses a kind of rotating uh, cast.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you have Michael Caine is in a lot of movie. Christian Bale is in
yeah,
Prestige and the Batman movies.
yeah,
Tom Hardy is,
and a
in
few,
a few of his movies.
yeah,
Yeah, but Inception to me is probably my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. I
yeah.
heard I
The
heard it took
storyline.
him like 10 years or something to fully develop like that storyline.
Wow.
And he always writes with his brother too, Jonathan Nolan.
I can't even imagine having to create something that would take me 10 years to put it out into the world.
Well, I mean, the thing is he was also making other movies while that
Right,
was happening too. So it
right,
wasn't like that was his life's work. But I think it's one of those where you just kind of keep tweaking it to keep tweaking and so for some people like him, making film is a process that they've mastered, you know. I
right,
think there's probably people that can go to you, Dennis, be like, I have no idea how to make a streetwear brand. Like, how does that happen? You
right.
know,
Yeah, and
but that's
I think when I'm designing too, it's like as I'm designing a collection or something, like another name for some other type of brand will pop in, and I'll start creating something for that, and then something else would start, like an accessory line, and next thing I know, I have a folder with like 4 new projects that
yeah,
might even take me 10 years to complete.
exactly. And then one day you look back, it's like, wow, has it been 10 years?
Yeah.
You know,
Crazy, man. But, yeah. So, let's, continue to do what we do. I mean, we're still in this lockdown for who knows how long. If you guys got any recommendations or need any on, something to watch, you can hit us up on what's the, what's the email again, Keith?
yeah, you guys can hit us up on email at what's the at narrative.today.
Yeah,
Or you can follow us on Instagram at narrative.today and give us some feedback. But we appreciate you guys listening.
right. We also launched, YouTube as well,
Yeah, we're on YouTube. We're on all the platforms.
all platforms. So thanks again, guys, for listening in to this live episode with me and Keith. Until next time, thank you and peace.
Yeah, peace, guys.